when I was 20 years, I joined the police academy. I was raised in a Christian family, with the things about the Bible and also applying them. And I really felt that God was telling me to join the police. So also in the police academy, like the steps I took, it was always with God. So it was every time a confirmation, Maarten, I want you to be a police officer in this city. So eventually I graduated, and then work starts, and then you see a lot of trouble. You see a lot of darkness, but also like the things people do, the bad things. You see the effect on people. You know, I speak to the victims, and then in a way, because you do it every day, the things of the world started to speak louder than the things God says. So I began to hate the criminals, you know, and in the police force, it's also, yeah, like most people are not Christian. I was the only one in the bureau. So like if we check an addict or a criminal, then my colleagues always say in the car, like, I hope he dies, or I hope this happens to him. Like, so that was what is talking to you. And then you see the victims of criminals and stuff, and then you started to believe that, or even to participate in it. So that was for me, it was not working for me. Like I knew that God placed me in the police force, but it was just so heavy on me to see all the darkness and to see, but also you see a lot of death, you know, like people suicide or accidents, that stuff. So that was terrifying me as well, because I knew that, like, Maarten, your life is just, how does the Bible says it? It's like a vessel of clay, you know, it can be smashed and then you're gone. And the Lord was telling me, like, you're not living the way I intended it to be in the police force. So he was really talking to my spirit, like, come back to me, and so I started to hunger again after God, and but then I'm like confronted with the darkness every day, and then I'm like, okay, God, you tell me I have to bless my enemies, but how do I do that? Because it's just not working for me. I cannot do it on myself. And then I invested my time in God, and also did other things. And then I still remember the first time that I was in an incident with a group of thugs, and in one moment I felt the love of God for them. But I'm like, okay, but what do I do with this now? Because I felt God's love for these criminals, and I'm like, I cannot tell them that. Oh, it's just they do stupid things. They're beating each other. But it was like the first time God really opened up the way He looks at them. So that was for me like the first thing that I knew that it was possible to see them through God's eyes, you know, and that it's not dependent on my own strength. Well, God really put certain things in my work to obey Him. Like one example, I had a night shift, and I started at 10 o'clock, and I was early, and then there was a girl sitting there waiting for a policeman so she could talk to, and the people from the day shift, they said, yeah, she's already sitting here for half an hour, but we thought you will come in and then you can talk to her. I'm like, okay, that's nice. Why didn't you talk to her? I don't feel like talk, you know. But she came in, and she told me she had a lot of trouble in her family, and it was a real unsafe situation in her house. And God told me, like, okay, Maarten, but you can share what you have been through at your place. And I heard the voice saying that, and I'm like, but God, I am the professional, you know. She's coming for her help, and I have to give her advice, not tell my own story. But it was like a really strong voice, and I had to trust God on it. So I shared a little bit of what I have experienced in my family. And like the conversation took a whole other way. Like she also said she was a believer, and then it was for me the confirmation that even if it doesn't make sense, because this was completely the opposite. She needed help, but I started to say things about my life. But it's just the obedience that you just have to be obedient when God says something, even if it doesn't make sense. Because the first thing you do is you are going to reason with God, like, no, this is not the right moment, this is not the right place, this is not the right situation. So God started to work in my job, and then, well, after a while he sort of opened the spiritual realm, because like people behave in the natural, but there are forces behind it. And for me, the first time it was really scary, that a drug addict started to say things about the book of Revelation, and said that the devil just tried to make claims on my life, and I'm like, this is strange, like he doesn't know the Bible, and but God, like, he invited me to also become a participant in that area, so. And I always push it aside, because for me it was scary. I don't see the things, I really feel them. Like sometimes you open up a house, the first step you take, and you immediately feel like this is not the realm of the Lord. So yesterday I shared something like a guy in psychosis, or how do you say it? Like, I stepped out and I called him by name, and he was fighting with my colleagues, and then like the time was away, and he turned around me and he looked at me, and he was silent, and I'm like, whoa, what is happening here? Like even I was surprised that the authority of Jesus just took over. And at the bureau, my colleague said, like, what was this? Do you know this guy, or because you called him by name and the situation changed? So God really, He's just inviting to live the kingdom life in your family, your friendship, and your work. And it's just been a blessing. And the other thing I want to share with you is God is speaking always. Like, it's been so many times for me that I heard the Lord speaking, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense, and I don't want to do this. But it's just takes a leap of faith, and then you see, why did he ask it? So, like 2 years ago we met, like something like that. Yeah. And well, God took it to an all next level. And, maybe it's good for you to share something now.
Just share how we met then.
Yeah, okay, so I was walking, I went to, in COVID time, we had some small church groups, and I saw him sitting, and I never met him. And then a few days later I was walking in the park, and then I went home, and I got an email. And the email said, I didn't know his name, so it was Niels, and he said, I saw you walking in the park, and now I know where you live. I know, is this a criminal? He was mad at me. Okay, this is strange. Then he said, we met last day at the church, and can we walk? Okay, this is good news. So we started a fellowship, talking to each other. And well, for me it's been a real blessing that Niels came in my life, because although beautiful things happened, I still had challenges with applying the word in my work, And Niels was very radical, and he said, like, he shared his testimony. I'm like, okay, you've been newborn 3 years. I've been in church all my life, and this is you, this is me, and you're much more radical. Like, I feel a little bit ashamed, So I knew that I had to learn from Niels as well, And I humbled myself to learn from him. And God has been good, and just taking you a level deeper every time. it doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop.
What Jesus always say to me is, this is just the beginning. And then I think, why is that? And when he say, no, it's just the beginning. The best things they always lay before us.
Oh, wow.